You can make a start now.
Okay. So today I will present how to get involved in the publication process during your PhD journey. And to be honest with you, it is not easy. So I tried to cover many aspects of it, but I will also give you some material to read more and more about it. So today I will cover, as I mentioned, some points, but not all of them. First of all, why should we do publish? So why publication is important. The second point, how to make your research world class. Thirdly, articles types, publications criteria, the structure of a research paper, how do you find the right journal, and publication process, editorial decisions and how to deal with those decisions, and finally how we can manage editors and reviewers' comments. So first point is, why should I do publish? So why publication is important? The first point is simply to get a job. So with your PhD only, it is not guaranteed to secure a job in the UK from my experience. But if you publish some papers during your PhD, I think your chances will be higher to get a job. Okay. If you secure a job, the second point is to keep this job. So if you keep publishing, you can secure your job, and also to get promotion. So to be promoted from lecturer to senior lecturer, reader, or professor, one main aspect is your publications. Also, your publications can help you to secure funding. And finally, if you want to continue in academia, a true scholar should be strong in research, teaching, and service as well. So research or publications, you need to be strong enough in this aspect. Is this okay? Please, if you want to ask any question, just please ask. Okay. So this is the first point, why publication is important. The second point is how to make your research world class. To be honest with you, this might be a course, how to make your research strong enough to compete with other researchers and publish top tier journals. But there is a great author, Neve Brennan. She is a professor in accounting, and she summarized some rules, which if you follow those rules, you can create strong research. And this paper is open access, so if you Google it only, you can download this paper. And she stated 100 research rules to publish your paper in top international journals. Okay, and to be honest with you, there is some rules which are very interesting, because sometimes as a PhD student, you believe that there's some weaknesses in your research, but it is the opposite. So for example, the second rule in this paper is play to your strengths. and how I can play with my strengths, for example. So, for example, my main language is not English. Okay, so I am from Arabic country, so I know Arabic language. So I know additional language. So sometimes this is a weakness, yeah, sure, but because you know another language, you can read their regulations or maybe some problems and make it as a strength to your research. So you know different backgrounds. Okay. Also, if you are strong in qualitative research, not in quantitative research, this is a strength, not a weakness. So focus on qualitative research. If it's the opposite, like me, I like quantitative research. Okay, so I should focus on quantitative research, not qualitative research. So know your main strengths and focus on it. Okay. Another role which is very interesting in this article as well is to develop a publication strategy or plan. And the best time to develop this plan is during your PhD journey. So you have 3 or 4 years to do your PhD. You have a lot of time to learn different methods, different techniques, and you have the luxury to say that in the first 6 months I was working on this idea, it doesn't fit, it doesn't work, so I may change it, and so on. So during your PhD, you should put a plan. How many papers I can develop from my PhD? Okay, so this is very important. Also, another role is develop publication targets. So what do you want? Do you want to publish 4-star paper, 3-star paper, 2-star, or 1-star, or unranked? Everyone has different aim. So might be someone wants to continue in the UK, so they must follow the ABS ranking, 4-star, 3-star, and so on. Someone wants to finish his PhD and return back to his country. So my country, for example, focus on Scopus ranking. So, okay, I need to look at Scopus ranking and focus on this ranking only. Okay, so what is your target? Okay, as when I was a PhD student, my target was to continue in the UK and to secure a job. Okay, so how I would secure a job? From my publication, I need to publish during my PhD. Okay, okay, which publication counts? Not any publication. So if you publish in 1-star, 2-star, or unranked journals, it is not strong enough. But if you are clever enough and your target is to publish at 3-star level or 4-star level, wow, this is fantastic, fantastic. And if you secure it, you can get job easily. Okay, so what is your target? Okay, and also one of the good advice in this article is to find a critical friend. So as a PhD community, you know each other, and it is very important to know your colleagues and to read to each other. So to read her or his work and the opposite as well. Why it is important? Because everyone can look at your article from different sides. Even I am accounting, and during my PhD, some of my colleagues in marketing or economics look at my articles, okay, or my manuscripts at that point, and everyone give some insights on my manuscript to develop it. Sometimes it is not relevant, that's fine, but most likely it will be relevant. and it can make your paper more stronger. Okay, I strongly advise you all to read this article. As I said, it is open access. Okay, and it is very easy to read. It's just 5 or 6 pages. Sorry, 5 or 6 pages, but it contains a lot of advices which is very important to know before you publish. Okay. There is another paper here which is getting published, achieving acceptance from reviewers and editors as well. And also this paper gives you some like roadmap how to address the issues and the comments from reviewers and editors. Is this okay? Any questions? There is a question here. Is it crucial to publish an article to successfully pass your PhD? The answer is to great extent. So if you published papers before you do your viva, most likely the examiners, whether external or internal, will get a very good impression that this work is already reviewed, and some journals accept to publish it. This means that this work to some extent was high quality. So as external examiner and internal as well, when I see publication list at the beginning of your thesis, I consider this as a very good indication. And most likely, if you publish before you finish your PhD, most likely your viva will be very easy. Because simply, publication is harder than PhD. So if you published a paper, so you will be aware of the key components of a good research. So this means your own PhD will be will contain the main components, which where any examiner will look at. So your aim will be clear, your methodology will be fine, you report your results in good way, and so on. Is this okay? Amina? Okay. Okay, so when I want to publish a paper, I need to know what types of articles that we can publish. And to be honest with you, there is a lot of types, and some of them I was not aware of or not consider it strong enough until recently, after I finished my PhD and so on, and published many papers. Okay, so mainly most of us focus on original empirical article. Okay, and the most of papers focus on this, but also there is theoretical articles. And to be honest with you, I wasn't focused on this type of literature or papers, but recently I found those papers are easy to complete, and a lot of journals are interested in those type of papers. So if I wanted to do a literature review paper, for example, okay, and from this literature review, I can develop a framework or highlight the key gaps in the literature, for example, and suggest future research. This type of research is very important, and a lot of journals would like to consider some research like this. However, of course, you need to do it in high quality level. Also, there is research notes, and the research notes or research letters Normally, the paper is from 5 to 10 pages only. Okay, it contains a lot of information, but very short type of research. And also, there is some journals which focus only on those type of research, like economic letters or finance letters journal. And again, if you are not strong enough in writing and you want to do very short papers, those journals, economic letters, 3-star journal, okay, finance journal, finance letter, also 2-star or 3-star journal as well. So you can might be write a paper in 1 week or 2 weeks. So, for example, I found many people currently write very short papers and go with this type, especially if you focus on COVID-19 and so on. Of course, you can review a book or might be publish a chapter in a book as well. Okay, and to be honest with you, the last 2 types, book review or book chapter, we consider them not strong enough in the UK. Might be in your country, might be a good publication. In my country, my original country, book review or book chapter is very good publication, and we consider them in promotion. But in the UK, it is not strong enough to secure a job using by publishing a paper in a book also. Is this okay, guys? Regarding to the third point, which is journals related issues. So publication might be in regular issue or maybe special issue, and special issues are very important because it is opportunity. So sometimes some authors in a key area of research, like for example CSR, okay, they can invite researchers to publish a paper in CSR in top journals, 3-star and 4-star journals. Why it is opportunity to publish in special issues? Because you have limited time. So for example, when they make a call for this special issue, they will give you from 6 to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year to submit your paper in this special issue. Okay, there is a lot of people cannot manage to write a paper and submit it during 6 months. But as a PhD student, it might be an opportunity to you because you have the time. Okay. Also, there is edited books. So sometimes, if you are interested in a key point, you can also, instead of a special issue, you can call for book chapters and make a book. So there is another question here, which is, must your article be related to your PhD research, or is it possible to publish an article that is different from your work? So most likely you will publish papers related to your research, related to your PhD research. However, if your progress is okay and you are okay with your thesis and you are writing, your progress is fine and you have more time to work on different articles, why not? Okay. So I remember that my first publication was from a collaboration with one of my colleagues, and it was not in my from my PhD research. So it is okay, but one main condition here is your progress is fine. Okay, because sometimes if you work in different directions, you might not able to do all of them with the best quality, possible quality. Okay. One of the key issues in the journals is journal fees and acceptance fees. So you need to be aware of some journals which are not strong enough, and they normally ask for acceptance fees, and sometimes it's very expensive. But if you look at the journal rank, you will find it weak journals, or so normally we avoid those type of journals because they will not add much value to your career. The first type, which is journal fees, some journals ask for small fees, sometimes $100, $50 or so. And some journals are very strong and they ask for those fees because they don't want everyone to submit papers there. Okay, so this to control the quality of submissions. You will not pay $100 or $200 unless you believe that your research is strong enough. Okay, and be aware that when you pay this amount, this is not guaranteed at all to publish it. So you pay $200 or $250, and in the same days you might get the rejection. Okay, those journals, those type of journals, 4-star or 3-star journals, they want to control from the beginning the submission, the submitted papers. Okay, so they want to rise the bar a little. Okay. Also, currently, most of UK universities adopt open access mode, and this is totally different from the submission fees or acceptance fees. So, and now most of universities can fund this type of research because it will be a requirement for the next trip. Okay. So the first point after I finish my PhD is I need to choose the right journal. How to choose the right journal? As I mentioned to you earlier, you need to look at the ranking of all journals. In the UK, as I mentioned earlier, most of us focus on EBS ranking. Okay. In Australia and in some countries, they look at APDEC ranking, which is the Australian ranking. Okay. Most of the countries and look at Scopus or Web of Science ranking. Okay. In Scopus, you can get Scopus ranking from a website free to access, which is SGR. So in SGR, if you just look here, the search area here, and type your journal name and search for it, you can find the journal ranking, which is Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. As I mentioned, it is very important, guys, to know where you want to publish. Okay, because if you publish in unranked journal, it doesn't matter. Okay, but if you publish in top tier journals, 3-star journals, or 4-star journals, here it matters. So if I read a thesis and this student published in 3-star journal or 4-star journals, wow. Okay, so it's a very strong indication. And as I mentioned, if you publish in 3-star and 4-star, you can easily secure a job. after you finish your PhD, or might be during your study. Okay. So, how can you know if the journal is Scopus or Web of Science? As I mentioned, SGR website is very easy to access, and this is for Scopus ranking. Okay. How I know the key journals in my area? So I'm accounting. How I know the key journals in my area? ABS ranking, they rank the journals to 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, and 1-star. Okay. Normally, when I advise my students, I ask them, please try to read from 4-star journals or at least 3-star journals. Why I advise them to do so? Because 4-star journals are very strong. Their methods are very robust. Okay. And the development of the paper, you can very easily identify the paper aim, the paper gaps, or the literature gaps, the contribution of the paper, the methods that they use, they describe it in very detailed way. So you can easily follow their methodology. And when they report their results, they report it in very good and robust way. So when I read from very strong journals, my writing will be okay at least. Might be it will be very strong because you will mimic or write in the similar way like 4-star journals. Okay, and it's very easy to justify your research. So, for example, my methodology. Okay, in my PhD thesis, when I write my methodology, and I said that I am following this and this and this from 4-star or 3-star journals. It is very strong justification, and you will not need a lot to justify why your method is okay. But if you follow a methodology from a paper which published in unranked journals, in this way, you will find a lot of criticism. I don't say that if you publish in unranked journals, this might be weak. Sometimes there is some strong papers there, but not always. Okay, so to know the key journals in your field, you need to look at the ABS ranking. Okay, it is free to register in their website. So go to the ABS website and look at 4-star journals or 3-star journals in your field. So if you are accounting, marketing, HR, or whatever your research in, look at your category of research. Okay, so I am finance and accounting. I am human resource researcher. Look at your sector, okay, section, and you will find the ABS ranking divide the journals to 4-star, 3-star, and so on. Is this okay, guys? So here you develop a good ideas, or might be very strong ideas. You develop your writing, and also you will be almost, you will secure that you will pass your Viva if you follow their methods. The second way also to get more ideas and to develop your work is to participate in major conferences in your field. In accounting, for example, we have 3 main conferences, which is American Accounting Association, European Accounting Association, and the British Accounting and Finance Association. So once you finish your first year, you can submit, might be 1-page abstract of your research to those conferences and go there, explain and present your idea. You will get a very good feedback to develop your research. So it will be at the level of publication, okay? Because I don't know the quality of my research. I'm writing my paper work and it is very good, okay? So how I can assess my research, whether it is okay or not, by presenting it in the main conferences, okay? Also, if you are accounting, there is Canadian Academic Accounting Association, and also the Australian and the New Zealand Accounting and Finance Association. Okay. Also, there is some yearly conferences by top-ranked journals, and I remember that my first submission was to journal Contemporary Accounting Research. It was 4-star journal, and they said if you submit a paper to our conference, you will get high chance to publish there. Okay, I submit a paper to this journal and I got rejection. Okay, and but the good point is I got very strong and detailed feedback, which is very important, guys. So rejection in some at some point, it's very important to assess your work and to develop it. Okay. IFAC is good as well. So if they organize some conferences, yes, you need to submit papers there and also to present there. Yeah. Also another way, but it's less effective compared to participating in conferences, is to put your paper to SSRN network, and the SSRN network is mainly to submit your in-process work. It is not the last version. Okay, so once you submit your paper in SSRN, you can get some feedback from key authors in your field, and sometimes you may attract good journals. So editors look at this SRN, and if your paper is strong, some editors might invite you to submit your paper to their journal. Okay, so and also as a PhD student, you need to look at this SRN for new ideas. So sometimes you said that my idea is not published anywhere. That's totally fine, but might be a working paper at SSRN address the same issue. So you need to look at SSRN and find out the new ideas in your field. Okay. So again, to summarize what I said, why I want to present my work in a conference or at a conference. As I mentioned, first of all, you can get feedback about your work. Your methodology might be, there is some key weaknesses in your methodology, and in the conference, you can get feedback to improve this. Also, in conferences, all papers are not published yet, so you can identify the related work to yours. Another good point about conferences is to have a good network with other academics, especially editors. So normally editors, associate editors participate in conferences, and by a way or another, you can speak with them, present or discuss your work with them, and sometimes they give you very good feedback. And might be they said, your idea is very strong, please submit your work to our journal. So you have a good network, so might make it easy to publish your work with it. Okay. And also, when you present your work, you introduce yourself to key authors in your field and they get some good feedback about it. And also, might be you can invite those one author or so to your paper, so they can improve your work and publish it in top journals. Okay, but the key point is please attend the relevant conferences. So don't attend conferences that will not add value to your research. Okay, so I remember British Academy of Management. I submitted papers there. It's very strong organization for management and the business students. But when I'm as accounting, when I submit my papers there and present it, I didn't get strong feedback. Okay, why? Because it's not relevant to my area. Okay, so British Academy of Management, the main streams focus on management and the business studies. Okay, so if you are doing your research in economics, don't go there. It is not relevant to your research. So you need to identify whether this conference is relevant or not. Okay, and it is okay, and it is totally fine to go to a key author in your field, okay, and ask them for feedback. And most of them welcome this and give you feedback, very good feedback. Okay, so when you go to a conference and wow, this professor blah 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 who published this paper in top journals, just say hello, hi, my name is, I am PhD in. Can you look at my draft and give me some feedback? It's totally fine. Okay. Also, try and link your paper to the interest of experts. So, for example, if you speak about CSR, but CSR in general, okay, corporate social responsibility now is, can say, outdated topic, but you can make it very strong and very important topic to the readers. How? By link it. So, for example, CSR in a certain sector, okay, or during a certain period. So, CSR during uncertainty. Now, we are in COVID-19 and the pandemic. So, how CSR help businesses during COVID-19, for example. This is very strong topic. Okay, but CSR only, it's very hard to publish because a lot of papers already published in this area. CSR might be very interesting in sport sector because there is no literature or there is few papers in this sector, for example. So if you link your idea to specific interest or to specific expert, it might be very interesting. So for example, there is a lot of journals that speak about IT, information technology, and there is a lot of 4-star and 3-star journals about IT in business. I can speak about CSR in IT sector, for example. Yeah, so it might be relevant to this. And finally, when you submit your paper to a journal, please acknowledge that you participated in some conferences, workshops, and acknowledge the valuable feedback that you get. Why you do this? It's a very strong and good indication for editors. This means that I present my paper in mainstream conferences. So this is not the first draft, for example. No, I worked on this paper, might be 1 year, 2 years, okay? And this is the outcome. So the editor, when he look at your paper, okay, this is not just the early draft or weak paper. There is a lot of people who give feedback about this paper. So they might give you a chance to put it under review, for example. Okay, is this okay, guys? Any questions? Regarding to the second, or not second, maybe the fourth point in my presentation today is publication criteria. So if you want to publish a paper, you need to make sure that some certain points are there in your paper, okay? First of all is your contribution. Do you have potential contribution to the literature, or your study just a replication? Okay, if you have a good contribution or potential contribution, please show it. Make it clear that my contribution is 1, 2, 3. In your introduction, in your conclusion, make it very clear, because this is the main point to get acceptance. Don't hide your contribution. Okay, so in your paper you need to show it. Okay, the second criteria is you are submitting your paper to this journal. Is this journal is relevant to your paper?
Sorry, Ahmed, can you unmute, please?
So I am speaking about accounting. Shall I submit a paper to international business journal, for example? Is it relevant to the reader or not? Might be very easy to say that no, it is not relevant. To some extent, you are right. But if your research is look at international business or international companies, might be even if I am in accounting, might be my paper will be relevant to international business journals. Okay, so you need to make sure that your paper or your work is relevant to the journal readers. Okay. Also, you need to make sure that the research motivation is clear. You stated the gaps in the literature clearly, and there is a strong motivation to do this research. Okay. Also, methodology. You need to make sure that your methodology is strong enough. Okay. And I heard this from a very well-known professor from 2 or 3 years that if you follow a methodology from 10 years ago, it might be not relevant to the current journals. Why? Because every day researchers and editors rise the bar. So from 10 years, it's very easy to publish paper using traditional regression, OLS regression, for example. Currently, most of journals will not accept it, even 1-star and 2-star journals. So they want the new methods, very robust methods. Okay. In management also, now most likely if you don't do moderation, mediation, variables, you will not publish anything. Yeah. So you need to look at the recent methods, how researchers conduct their research. Okay. As I mentioned also in the conclusion, you need to clearly state your theoretical, practical implication, your contribution. And of course, I did this point before. Don't submit your paper unless you make sure that your writing is good enough. Why? Because the first, I am associate editor in one journal, okay, and the reviewer for many journals. And the first point to reject a paper is writing. Okay, so once you participate in some conferences, you make some drafts to improve your paper. Before you submit it, proofread it. Might be your supervisor or professional proofreader, or maybe a colleague. If you don't have enough money to do proofreading, another colleague, if he read it, he can spot some issues, okay, to improve it. Can we present? Yeah, so there is a conference, a question here about can we participate in a conference even if we're still in data collection process? Yes. So for example, BAFA or most of journals, they have the first day of the conference is allocated to PhD students. Okay. So, and they ask for one page only, your idea. And once you submit your idea, okay, you go there and present what you have done so far. You don't need to have a complete research paper, okay? So if you just make a literature review, that's totally fine. If you have your methods, you identify the methodology that you will follow, but you didn't collect your data, that's totally fine. And this is the main aim of participating in the conference. I will show my literature, I will show my methodology and get feedback. Because sometimes it is much better to get very bad feedback at the beginning. So might be you adopt a methodology, a certain methodology, and it might be not relevant at all. So from the conference feedback, you can get some feedback about it. So yes, it's very important, by the way, to participate in conferences at early stage. Okay? Is this okay, Amina? So the structure of any paper, so it is very systematic. Okay, so normally you start with title, abstract, keywords in the first page. After that, introduction. Don't make it very long. It is a paper, so from 2 to 4 pages maximum. Your introduction, and the introduction must cover an overview about your topic, research objectives, research questions, research motivations, importance of your research, contribution. Might be you can state your key findings, and finally at the end is the structure of your paper. Okay. Of course, the introduction might be different from journal to another, so you need to look at the recent published papers in a certain journal and look at the introduction. What are the key components in the introduction? Okay, literature review. Sometimes literature review and hypothesis development in the same section. So you need to critically review up-to-date literature, identify gaps, and explain why your paper fills at least one of these gaps. Okay, research methods, empirical analysis, and results, discussion, and the conclusion at the end. And of course, the references. Okay, and make sure that those are the key sections. Okay, so you need to make them in bold letters and make sure that I can see them. Okay, sometimes someone will say this is general knowledge. To be honest with you, I saw a lot of papers submitted to journals, okay, and they don't have some key sections. So I saw one paper, he submit his paper without research methodology section. Okay, don't have methodology. Another one submit his paper without conclusion. Another researcher submit his paper without reference list. Okay, this is not acceptable, and any journal you will get a rejection in 1 hour. Okay, if you miss a key section in your paper. Okay, so again, how do you find the right journal? As I mentioned, you work in human resource, go to ABS list, there is section for human resource. Those journals are interested in human resource. Okay, if you wanted to submit your paper to another journal not from this list, you must look at the aim of this journal. Okay, so for example, there is a journal of business ethics. Okay, this journal is in CSR section. Okay. As accounting scholar, can I submit paper to Journal of Business Ethics? Yes, you can. As human resource scholar, can you submit paper to Journal of Business Ethics? Yes, you can. As a marketing scholar, can you submit a paper there? Yes, you can. So what is the criteria here? Your research must focus on ethics. Okay. So as I mentioned, if you wanted to submit a paper, the easiest way, look at the category in the ABS. If you want to submit your paper to a different journal, not from this list, look at the journal aim. Okay, I give you one example here is a journal of corporate finance. This is 4-star journal. If you search, it will be in finance section. Okay, as accounting scholar, can I submit paper to this journal? Go to the journal homepage and look at the aim and the scope of this journal. Okay, from the aim and the scope, you can identify whether this journal is relevant to my study or not. Okay, the second point, when you submit a paper to a journal, be aware of the journal preferences. So some journals accept some certain papers, not everything. I said some certain papers, not some certain authors. Okay, how this would happen, guys? So for example, some journals they have specific orientation. Okay, so for example, in my area, I cannot set everything, but in my area, for example, we have Journal of Accounting and Economics. It is 4+, one of the top journals in our area. Okay, but this journal accepts quantitative research only. Quantitative. Okay, so if you submit a qualitative paper, whatever the quality of your research, it will be rejected. Okay, so you must understand and know the orientation of those journals. Also, sometimes there is a specific interest. So, for example, European Accounting Review Journal, okay, they mainly focus on European context. So, if my research about Egypt, for example, most likely they will reject it. Not because of the quality of the paper, it is because they focus on the European context. Okay. Also, there is another journal which is Critical Perspective in Accounting. I know that Dr. Abir published there. So it is also one of the top journals. Okay. But this journal don't publish quantitative research. Okay. So most likely, I know that there is some exception, but most likely, if you submit quantitative paper to Critical Perspective in Accounting, you will get a rejection directly. Okay, it's the opposite to the first one. So you need to know whether this journal is interested in my research. Okay. Also, some journals they have some preference about style. So the accounting review, for example, Journal of Accounting Research, most of them look at US data. So if you have data from elsewhere, most likely it will be rejected. Sometimes they accept some data from outside USA, but 90% of their papers focus on USA only. Okay. Some journals, they don't have preferences, and they are 4-star journals. So accounting, organization and society, 4-star, 4+. Contemporary accounting research, 4-star journal. Okay, those journals, they accept qualitative and quantitative research. They accept the data from US or outside US. So it is okay. They don't have specific preference. Okay. Another way is the style of the journal. So before you submit your paper, you need to look at the last accepted papers in this journal to look at the style of the writing. Okay. So you need to identify the target journal and look at the last 5 years. Select some papers from the last 5 years which is relevant or similar to your research. Okay. And look at the style. Okay. So I remember at West of Scotland, I published paper in journal Energy Policy. Okay. And in energy policy, the last section is conclusion. If you submit your paper with the last section named the conclusion, they will reject it. Okay. They want at the end conclusion and the policy implications. So the last section must be conclusion and the policy implication. So you need to look at some papers from this journal to understand their style. Okay. Also, sometimes they look at reference style. This is minor issue, but some editors, because they receive a lot of papers, not yours only, they reject it. Okay. Also, it is a good practice when you look at the editor or associate editor in your area and cite some of their papers in your paper. It is a good indication that you are aware of their work and you read it. So, for example, if I am submitting my paper to International Journal of Accounting and the editor there is a key author in international accounting research, okay, and he published many papers, and I didn't cite any of his papers, it's a bad indication. Okay. So I still have time, or just I finish at this point?
It should finish at 1.
Okay, so might be this point, it might be in...
Yeah, do you mind if you send me the PowerPoint?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, that's absolutely fine. Guys, do you have any questions? Okay, we'll do the poll as usual. Thank you very much. I think everyone just 100% said the session was very, very useful. So thank you very much. It's really very good. I've learned bits and pieces from your presentation as usual. So thank you very much. Once you send me the PowerPoint, I will just kind of do the recording and I will upload the page later on. Thank you very, very much, everyone, and thank you very much for our guest speaker, and looking forward for more PDP sessions. Thank you. Bye-bye.